Welcome to AI News in 10, your top AI and tech news podcast in about 10 minutes. AI tech is amazing and is changing the world fast. For example, this entire podcast is curated and generated by AI using my and my kids' cloned voices. It's Monday, May 18th, 2026. We've got a stacked slate as AI and chips collide with earnings, events, and geopolitics. Today, we're digging into Baidu's latest results. AI revenue just topped its legacy ad business for the first time. The tense, last-minute talks at Samsung as a court limits the impact of a looming 18-day strike that could ripple through the AI memory market. A quick primer for Google I.O., which kicks off tomorrow with Gemini and Android 17 front and center. What to watch as Dell Technologies World opens in Las Vegas with an AI everywhere agenda. And we'll wrap on China's CXMT, which just reported a surge in sales as it heads toward an IPO. But first, let's hear a word from our sponsors.
Need elite developers fast? Elite Coders connects you with rigorously vetted senior engineers in 24 to 48 hours. Staff augmentation, dedicated teams, or full project delivery, we've got you covered. Visit elitecoders.co to get started today.
Now, let's dive into today's stories. Let's start in Beijing. Baidu's first quarter numbers this morning underscore a pivotal shift. AI is no longer a sidecar, it's the engine. The company says AI-powered businesses contributed more than half of Baidu Core revenue in Q1, up from roughly 40% a year ago. Overall sales were 32.1 billion yuan, about $4.7 billion, with a modest decline at the consolidated level. Excluding iQIYI, the core returned to growth on the strength of AI Cloud. Shares ticked up in pre-market trading. Bloomberg frames it as the first time AI sales have eclipsed Baidu's traditional internet ads, a symbolic and strategic milestone as the firm leans into agentic AI and cloud. Zoom in on the product mix. AI cloud infrastructure revenue hit 8.8 billion yuan, up 79% year over year. GPU cloud revenue alone surged 184%. Management says the Baidu Core AI-powered business reached 13.6 billion yuan, 49% year over year, pushing AI's share of the core to 52%. They also highlighted Apollo Go's momentum, with fully driverless rides up triple digits and expansion plans into Dubai and trials in Europe. It's the picture of a search-era incumbent rewiring itself into an AI cloud and agents platform. Story 2. Samsung. As of today, Monday, May 18th, Samsung Electronics and its labor union are back at the table in government-mediated talks to try to avert what would be the biggest strike in the company's history, scheduled to run 18 days from May 21st through June 7. This morning, a South Korean court granted an injunction that curbs the scope of any strike. The union must maintain safety operations and wafer anti-deterioration work, and cannot allow the action to cut into required production safeguards. Samsung shares popped on the ruling even as negotiations resumed. The union says it's still prepared to strike if pay and bonus disputes aren't resolved. The stakes are high. South Korea's leadership is signaling concern about hits to exports and markets, and the industry is laser-focused on HBM and DRAM output that feeds AI data centers. Through the day, wire reports emphasize that more than 45,000 workers could participate, and that officials are pressing hard to avoid a supply chain shock. The takeaway? Today's ruling reduces the risk of a catastrophic stoppage, but it doesn't eliminate disruption risk. Expect continued volatility in memory names, and close scrutiny of any guidance around Samsung's HBM lines as Thursday approaches. Third, a quick heads up for tomorrow. Google I.O. 2026 kicks off Tuesday, May 19th at 10 a.m. Pacific with the developer keynote that afternoon. Android Central has a day-before roundup, and the session schedule hints at exactly what you'd expect. Gemini everywhere, Android 17 upgrades, and a heavy focus on AI tooling for developers. If you watched the Android show last week, you saw the previews, tighter Gemini integration across Android, smarter automation, and cross-device features. Tomorrow we'll likely get the polished story, timelines, and hands-on demos. If you need times, 10 a.m. Pacific for the main keynote, 1:30 p.m. Pacific for the developer keynote, then 2 days of AI, Chrome, and Android sessions. We'll have highlights in tomorrow's episode. Before we continue, here's a quick message from our sponsors.
This episode is brought to you by Family GPT, the AI chat platform actually designed for kids. If your children are curious about ChatGPT,
but you're worried about what they might see, Family GPT gives you full parental controls, content filtering, and the ability to align responses with your family's values, whether Christian, Muslim, Jewish, secular, and many more. Monitor every conversation, set usage limits, and let your kids explore AI safely. No ads, no data selling, complete privacy. Sign up free at familygpt.chat. That's familygpt.chat.
All right, let's get back to it. Fourth, Las Vegas is where enterprise IT folks are camping out this week. Dell Technologies World runs May 18th through 21, and the agenda is unabashedly AI heavy. Today's live broadcast features keynotes, customer conversations, and deep dives on AI-powered personalization, security architectures, and agentic workflows. Nice tells about where customers are actually deploying. Partners are leaning in. Deloitte is a diamond sponsor this year, and AMD is signaling a built-for-enterprise AI presence, with messaging that spans data center infrastructure and AI PCs. Read between the lines, and you can see the shape of Dell's pitch: pre-integrated AI stacks, on-prem and hybrid options, and an ecosystem ready to help enterprises operationalize agents, not just models. Watch for updates to the AI factory strategy and expanded reference designs tied to GPU supply. Those usually drop in the opening sessions. Finally, a big one out of China's memory sector. Changshin Memory Technologies, better known as CXMT, reported that first quarter revenue jumped more than 700% to 50.8 billion yuan, with profit topping 20 billion yuan as it preps for a high-profile IPO later this year. The figures come via CXMT's latest prospectus filing flagged overnight by Bloomberg. It's a remarkable swing from a loss a year ago, and a reminder that AI's appetite for memory doesn't just buoy HBM. It lifts DRAM broadly and is accelerating domestic Chinese chip capacity. If you're mapping global supply risk and competition, CXMT's trajectory matters. A successful listing would equip it with fresh capital as Beijing pushes self-reliance across the semiconductor stack. Two quick context notes to close out. First, for anyone watching the evolving geography of AI supply chains, the US and the Philippines are advancing plans for a 4,000-acre AI-native industrial hub in the Luzon Economic Corridor. Local authorities have outlined New Clark City as a candidate site, and fresh fact sheets landed this month. Bloomberg today framed the push as moving very quickly. That backdrop helps explain why AI server assembly, packaging, and critical minerals processing keep showing up in Indo-Pacific headlines this quarter. Second, circling back to tomorrow's I.O., Google's cadence the last couple of years has been to pre-tease features in the Android show, then save the biggest platform and AI news for the Shoreline stage. Given how central Gemini has become across Search, Workspace, and Android, expect lots of agentic framing. What tasks can the OS and apps take off your plate? And developer updates that make those agents cheaper to run, easier to sandbox, and safer to deploy in production. We'll separate sizzle from substance right after the keynote. Recap time. Baidu just crossed a symbolic threshold. AI now contributes the majority of its core revenue powered by a fast-growing cloud, and investors liked it. Samsung is racing the clock with a court order reducing strike risk but not removing it ahead of May 21st. Google I.O. lands tomorrow with Gemini and Android 17 in the spotlight. Dell Technologies World opens today with an AI everywhere agenda for the enterprise, and CXMT's sales jump shows how quickly the memory side of the AI economy is scaling on both sides of the Pacific. That's your AI news in 10 for Monday, May 18th. Thanks for listening, and a quick disclaimer: this podcast was generated and curated by AI using my and my kids' cloned voices. If you want to know how I do it or want to do something similar, reach out to me at emad@ainewsin10.com. That's AI News in 10.com. See you all tomorrow.